There's a number of things that have actually been weighing on my mind while I haven't been uploading. One of these is the ramifications of genomics and deep learning, both of which are on the Genomics page of Microsoft, of the Microsoft firm. What they're getting involved in with the collection of the data of human genetics, then also various applications thereof, so that they could look at genotype and map it to phenotype, and then even down to what we now know is about the most sort of, you end up with sort of the liberal school, the politically liberal school, that is more about nurture than nature, and they'll say it's about 30% genetic, that you have even gesticulations that people will have. There's other people who are more of the conservative school who say that this could be 80%. This is way up there, that you get basically what would be considered personality traits, that the heart of the parent is the heart of the child, as a Japanese aphorism would say. So this would greatly offend the most recent school of thinking in kind of in our world, kind of post the Christian Enlightenment era, where you get then the secular Enlightenment types. And you get a lot of Marxists and such, and then from there you get the various types of liberation movements, of which one is feminism, and then the sexual liberation movement extended from there. And so you get now where all of these are colliding, and it's colliding up against the absolute reality where you have to take metrics, to the point that now we're changing definitive terms so you can no longer get accurate metrics. And that is the collapse of science itself. That's where science turns back into some type of mysterious art form, of which then you have basically personalities with swordsmen backing them, saying, this is what now science is, I declare it, I am this authority figure. The swordsman will also make sure that all of you go along with it. And if it's not, and before the swordsmen strike, there's many tiers of kind of almost like what now we have as a secular priesthood and priestesshood, and the secular clergy that comes through the media. And at the heart of all this, so this is of course, for people who understand the cathedral and its reference, the Moldbugian reference, Mencius Moldbug, and the cathedral, that you'll then get like this reference to. And so many women don't really think, and I think really it's that now that misery, that the choices that the white liberal female vote, which is the heart of white liberalism. It is actually, it's really Robert Briefolt, who made me understand every ethnic group comes up, once it has its opportunity, it will try to come up with a way by which it can breed, that the women can breed in relative safety, and they can have things. So you're starting to see with like lots of the lower tiers of Mesoamericans coming into the country illegally, they will come up with very, very tight ethnic networks that skim off the society, that have methods by which of skimming constantly off the society through benefits, because we know that basically liberal white women are hiding how much illegal immigrants from the Hispanic world are actually costing us, that they're very, very expensive pets, very much like black people who are on the public dole. And all these groups basically trying to come up with their method of really preservation, of group preservation. And so you end up then with something I think a lot of men have encountered, is the woman who wants to become the social worker because she wants to solve problems. So this is the quintessential college-educated white woman who has majored in things that haven't really been remunerative versus the risk, or versus some kind of investment in the labor. So it ends up in social work. And it's just a self-preservation strategy. It's a department that doesn't really ever exist. It's not a thing in nature. It's charity work. And it's supposed to be that you're helping your group, but then that would imply you would have to be in a group, an absolute group, that you and they trust one another. So it's reciprocative. Like you're not just handing the person food so they can go and then get doped up on, and become a dope fiend someplace. Like that's not charity, really. Yeah, because there's supposed to be a type of trust between both parties, that one is truly helping the other with the other's needs. And so with the public dole system, I mean, it's just, it's just handing people, in fact, almost anything they want now. So I think that now, because the misery is setting in of what I had basically a thing I was saying on Facebook, that this one black schoolmate from high school, as she started to look more into what I was putting up on Facebook, and also was horribly shocked at what was happening in Black America, to the point where, I mean, she was really like, she really obviously black-pilled her. And the more religious and spiritual I got, I think it rang true with her as well. And there's a lot of other people that I could tell it stings. They know it's true. I mean, these are real stories of black people doing horrible things to one another all day, and nobody, and white liberals desperately want to say that there's no pattern, there's nothing to see here, don't worry about it. You don't understand because your mama wasn't as black as, I don't know, or something, you talk like too white or something, rather than we should find out what this pattern of sociopathy is, because at some point sociopathy and psychopathy are going to become something that is going to become too easy to spot by deep learning AIs taking using physiognometric software, because that already exists. This is one of the things on Microsoft's page. One of these is Face2Gene, where you could find out about through physiognometric application on a cell phone. You could actually find out about phenotypic deviations of features that would show then certain genotypic issues such as Down syndrome. So a world where there's absolute metrics. So there was somebody who was in the field of genomics, and he kind of gained both infamy and fame and everything on kind of the most far right of circles. And one of the things is he's like, I could quantify anything about your life, was one of the statements he made. But he also would shock people with ways that they would think they knew what he was going to say and what the science showed. But then they would be baffled by what the science showed. And he was a scientist, so he didn't care. It was what did the research show on this or that or the other thing. And so something like, say, with exercise, why would you exercise? He's like, yeah, there's some of you who you love being athletic and your athletic trim body and this, that, and the other. He goes, but really, in nature, why would you do that? And he's like, and then he got into, he goes, no, people who stay sort of young and fit into their late years are bred that way. That's a breeding thing. That's mostly genetic. So white liberal women are mostly operating on various deep evolutionary things, and then stuff that's that's actually a part of ethnic culture that can be charted with the Democrats, the spreading of the Democratic vote, that there was only like one group of people that the idea of compulsory female education and literacy was real in the colonial Americas, and that was pretty much among the New Englanders. That's also where we get most of our colleges from, and that's where that spread from in our culture. That's why you still have like Reed, and you had Chamberlain and Antioch College and all these old-fashioned New Englander names, because that's where it came from culturally. The idea being, if you could read the Bible, if you could read the good book, that you wouldn't go to hell. And this applied to women. How can you expect women to be moral if they were not capable of reading? And this is why we almost think of females as the most expert of grammarians, I believe is the term, because of the long tradition of that from New England. And that we even think of a woman who were to teach manners and grammar would have a New England accent in the American tradition. This Tory accent that actually is British in its origin. So the white liberal vote is this thing that has, without the white females voting Democratic and liberal, everything changes. That's it. I mean, everything. And it's economic. It's simply economic. And a big part of it is admitting. A lot of liberal white women have to admit, no, when it comes down to consumption, you consume like everybody else. Almost everything else you do on a daily basis is something that would be done by any Republican woman most of the time, of the same economic class. Maybe they have more kids by the numbers, and don't smoke as much pot, but I mean, that's about, they're most of what you do would be the same. The idea is, where does the white man's money go? Because they're consistently the group that they're keeping the industrial American backbone going. The extraction of benefits by all other groups is bankrupting the country. Period. It doesn't matter that magazine woman-like, website woman-like say otherwise, because none of that math ever pans out. And it doesn't. We've been right over and over and over again, and then it comes down to that. Now, because the math will show through, because the bankruptcy, the collapse of the value of the currency, which really is how much are Americans worth per hour. That's what the currency, to an extent, actually shows us. What is the productive value of an American per hour, per minute? So what's coming is a reckoning. And this reckoning at some point is going to fall to the point where men are going to remember when you got sassy and decided to light everything on fire. And it's going to be the white men. This is why so many of you are having trouble in dating. You want to find Chad, and Chad is pretty white, tall and white. Most of the stats you're looking for, that's who you're looking for. And now there's too many of these fellas that's where this stage of their mind's at. And there's even, by principle, there's a part of me that can't agree with it, because I have to say it is good for men to become fathers when they are good men. It improves upon a good man. It makes his goodness pass on to others, and he's good to then his wife. You see, I have to agree by principle to that. and understand why men aren't doing that. And good guys, good dudes, are not getting involved. And until the vote changes, good men will actually back away and hunker down. And that's what's really happening to our society to a great extent. We're bunkering down, waiting for you to change, and we'll just watch them consume you in the streets. We'll watch you deal with these savages, and try to enjoy yourself, and watch it fail horribly, and watch you get consumed in the streets, because we have to. And that's also then a thing I had to accept with humility, was that there's nothing I can do now about that. Men have to retreat from society in a way that's not dissimilar to periods of time where there was monastic movements, and that you would have like whole generations of men fundamentally choose a life of kind of scholarship, prayer, minimalism. I mean, like the whole thing of the minimalism class becoming more and more normal. And just cryptocurrency. This is actually one I had to think of. Why is everybody so really angry at cryptocurrency? Why is everybody worried about cryptocurrency? Because it's a dude thing. Like everything else, it's a dude thing, and it makes everybody nervous. They're like, why are these guys interested in cryptocurrencies? And it becomes then taboo. So it's something that's set aside as special, but it's also something set aside as somewhat verboten as well. That means it is something, while understood as a science and in scientific terms by some, it is understood in artistic terms by others as a verboten taboo thing. So it then becomes kind of an art, and it's more of a mystical thing. So sort of the worry that people have about cryptocurrencies doing this, that, or the other doesn't really make any sense according to the numbers. You know, you can't really say like, oh, people are doing this and that and that and this with cryptocurrencies, but you can claim it, because that's more the art. That's not really the science of it, where you have metrics of it. Where do you see these going? What are people doing? What is it that really is the threat of the cryptocurrencies? No. It's just that it's a dude thing. it's a dude thing that not enough people understand what it's about, and so people get worried about stuff men are interested in that they generally don't understand, you know, and because we're fascinated by fascinating things. So there's really I really had to think about, like, there was this character I loved on a cartoon, not Robot Chicken, but it was one of those kind of things. It is Bitch Puddin'. It was funny as hell. It was supposed to be a strawberry shortcake character named Bitch Puddin', and Bitch Puddin' was like this just crazy, sassy, blonde white girl who, it was like when you see, and as soon as you see the character, you get it. You've seen this girl before. You've seen this white chick before. But there's these moments where she'll do things where she'll just run her finger like along something and then knock something off the shelf, and her head will tilt sideways with like this sassy look, and it is very feline. And so I was thinking about that I'm like, I think a lot of white liberal women who are starting to get into their like 30s, like they're like, I want to find a companion. A lot of you need to understand, when you start talking to men, they're seeing you walk around the room of their universe, knocking things over with your tail and looking at them like, aren't I pretty? When you're, instead of ever going, yeah, during that time in my life, I didn't really understand economics. So I didn't understand that you can't just give money to poor people and expect them one day to, save it, go to college, and start building, hyper super warp drives. Like no, they're going to maybe eke out a survival for a little while if they don't spend it on the dope, or something relatively dumb, because dumb people spend their money on dumb things. And nobody's hearing this. Nobody's hearing like, yeah, and I really changed because I realized so many of my ideas were actually kind of poisonous to my happiness. I didn't realize that really, I needed and wanted a companion. I didn't, that kind of thing. Men need to hear that. And it's not, oh, they need, no, not woman need. They need to hear that because they need to know, like, you've actually had that rational insight. Oh my God, you were once a rabid feminist and that's why you have a giant red star tattoo? Interesting. Oh, your ex-boyfriend, a number of your ex-boyfriends got like way into heroin. You all had, and you all got matching tattoos back. Huh. Oh, you really didn't realize, it was this very toxic way you thought about this. You see, that rational self-reflection. Men aren't seeing that. They are seeing, and this is when I tip this over in my friend's room. This is when I tip this over in my parents' room. This is when I tip this over in my own room. And then again. This one lit my whole house on fire that time. And so, I highly recommend it. It's a funny bunch of skits, and there's still shirts. So it's a like a strawberry shortcake character named Bitch Puddin', and the skit was hilarious. And the character, I want one of these shirts because it's so funny. I even have a wallpaper and I found randomly some fan art. I was like, because it was that funny the character was that well done, I think. I always thought the character was that well done. So that's what people, that is what, when I see, because I don't feel good watching these things where somebody's on TikTok talking about I can't find any happiness or anyone who likes me and stuff. That doesn't feel good. Sometimes it's funny. There's ways that it's kind of funny, but it doesn't feel very good after a while. And especially women who, they appear to be rather pretty and kind of pleasant and stuff. But the thing is, a lot of men are like, what are you going to do to me? Now they really get like, no, this is never us. So somewhere these bitches have learned this. This has been something that was put deep in their minds, and they are like trying to figure out a way of lighting this on fire all the time, or knocking something over and staring at me in the face and going, look at that. Look at what I just did. Are you going to do anything about that? And just, and that, yeah. And while it's like, oh, well, men have to understand women are like that, or you cannot do that. You can control your impulse to be bad. Because you see, you don't want the bad hand. As the old rap song, you don't want Mr. Bad Hand. God damn it. You don't want Ike. You want Ike's mood to be positive. You don't want to be like, Ike baby, no. All right? And, you don't want a world like that. Or maybe because of that we seem to be breeding backwards into savagery, maybe that is what you want. That you want to be a part of a harem of women that are kept in line through fear and intrigue and melodrama and some Shah, giving gifts to one of you but not the other, and ha ha ha, and and you get played all like silly hoes, harem. Maybe that's that. Maybe that. I mean, obviously that's been bred into people. There's whole cultures of the world that, pretty much they operated that way for hundreds and hundreds of years. So it just, but I don't think a lot of, especially for liberal white women, that they're looking for a chatty white dude, but they keep finding these guys that have toxic ideas. And it's like, or maybe you have really made yourself somebody who up in the most important part of you, in your brain is unacceptable. Holy crap, and that you can change. The liberal school says it's only 20% something about your parents. The conservative school says that it could be up to 80%, 60% of your personality. But holy shit, if the rest of you's tight and right, then, I want you to think about that concept. It's your brain, girl. You've literally done something to it that nobody wants it. And that the natural desire and requirement of a life form to reproduce, these men looking at your body going, I want to reproduce with that on site. Let me talk to you more and see if you'll kill our child. Let's talk to you more and see if you will look the other way while our child is assaulted by children of the neighboring tribe. What form of betrayal will you resort to? And that they have to just start checking them off the list. All the various forms of betrayal. That is most likely, because that is what is done. And of course, because the white liberal female vote is the liberal vote, is the pith of the liberal and the liberal heart, and the liberal man is of a very effeminate mind, and so that this idea that their honor at a certain point doesn't matter to them, and they become betrayers because they have to. It is the only way that they can fit in with women. That betrayal is not just okay, but it is a part of a strategy, a mating strategy. You can get the most number of various offspring by, betraying one man in one way or another. Knocking shit over in the house, just all the time in every little way. And then, and then going on to the next man because, my past man, he was so bad to me, I would be dusting and something would fall over and he would get so angry and, So I highly recommend you guys watch that. It's a funny skit. It's a funny bunch of animations. It was very well done. I want to say it was Robot Chicken. That's it, Robot Chicken. Yes, it was Robot Chicken. So that was, so there was that I was thinking about. And so then, because of the genomic thing and the physiognometrics thing, one of the things I started thinking about too was, I wonder if, I'll take an extra long walk. I started thinking about this, that there's an AI deep learning has gaydar. It was kind of a joke. People thought like it wasn't serious. Like they're like, that's not real. You can't really have something like that. Machines can't do that. But then started to turn out, no, machine learning is being able to accurately spot gay people in photographs. How is this possible? And nobody wants to talk about it. Like it's this thing that exists. It's this thing that, people know about. But then suddenly you're not supposed to discuss it. And even though the ramifications of it are huge. I mean, what if this is done by some really authoritarian state actually ends up using a technology like that? You would think people would be very concerned about that. Well, there's a reason people can't. They might be concerned, but they can't be. They kind of safely. Oh, so this is how this is laid out over here. Oh, that's nice. Okay, yeah, I'm going to have to come out here a bit more often. Okay. But yeah, is that genomics has shown us there is no gate gene. And so far, there is no assembly of genes from different parts of the chromosomes that you will you'll get this as a pattern that you can actually map out in the Mendelian breeding chart. So you can figure out kind of the chances of hair color, but you will not be able to figure out the chances of homosexuality, bisexuality, and then and transsexuality seems to be its own thing, completely and totally altogether a different kettle of fish. The longer this is going on, the more we're letting everything kind of just fly apart at the seams that I'm kind of enjoying. Now everyone's figuring out, oh, did you know that these people aren't crazy? And the reason they're not crazy is because they threaten psychiatrists and psychologists all over the world. And then they got on boards of psychology and psychiatry and declared themselves not crazy. Yes, that is true. That is an abridged version of it, and that is absolutely true. They threatened everybody into saying they weren't crazy. Notoriously violent. Correlated with notorious violence and drug abuse. Anyway, mental instability, violent ideation. This is why we don't like talking about the kind of person Freddie Mercury really was. We don't like talking about, wait a second, so what kind of guys really were the Rolling Stones? Ladies, what kind of guys would you really call fucking Mick and, oh, damn it. You guys know. Ladies, would you date guys like that back in the day? A lot of you would. So that's why there's all these white guys now who are looking at white women and are like, holy shit, what are you going to fucking do to my child, to my life? Oh my God, what will you say in front of my family? Yeah, and you all don't get it. You won't get it. You won't get this idea oh, you know how everybody hates that kind of thinking? Every normal man hates fucking feminism because it's abnormal and hostile toward men, and it's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and based on Marxism, and you know how it's gone totally wrong on you, and using its own principles has become sort of this weird Ouroboros eating its tail, this philosophy that eats itself. You should regret that you got fooled into that and say things like that. Because to some degree, some regrets actually show that you had an interesting life and you changed. All right. Peace.